What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of Dose Chais. My name's Efren, and with me always is my trusty co-host, Coop.
What's happening?
So with, what a week now? Is it week 2?
Week 2 of the preseason. Technically week 3, because they, for some reason, count the Hall of Fame week.
Yeah, I don't know about that mess. So it's, so we were talking about the NFL predictions and whatnot. So I just gave Coop a quick overview of, I saw on another podcast that somebody had put in ChatGPT statistics and rosters and how they performed in the last couple of years and what they thought they were going to be and their predictions for 2024. Some interesting picks. So would you just start at the top and work our way down for the...
Yeah, I'll list them out for us. So the AFC East, they have the Buffalo Bills at 12-5. They have the New York Jets at 11-6. They got the Miami Dolphins at 10-7. New England Patriots at 8-9. The AFC North, they have the Cincinnati Bengals at 12-5, Baltimore Ravens at 11-6, the Cleveland Browns at 9-8, and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-9.
Now that's surprising because that'd be his first losing season. He's never had one, Tomlin.
It's incredible. And if you look at the quarterbacks they had last year compared to this year, the AFC South, Jacksonville 10-7.
Surprise.
Yeah, Tennessee 8-9. Indianapolis 7-10, the Texans 5-12. Texans won that division last year. Went and got better on the offensive line, defensive line. Got another weapon. Wait. Let's go through them and then criticize them. AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs 13-4. Oh man, Los Angeles Chargers 11-6. Raiders 7-10. Broncos 6-11. That's incredible because if you look at the AFC alone, they're saying the worst team is going to be the Houston Texans.
Yeah, 5-12. I don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at both conferences, they're saying that parity is here because the lowest record is 5-12.
Yeah, and Arizona in the NFC West is which would predict over there.
All right, let's go NFC West. 49ers 12-5, Seahawks 10-7, Rams 7-10. Arizona 5-12. NFC South, you have
the Panthers.
Wow, the Bucks at 6-11.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons at 7-10. Saints at 8-9. The Carolina Panthers win the division at 9-8.
That's a surprise, but that for the last handful of years has been like the worst league, the worst conference.
If the Carolina Panthers win that division, come on, something seriously wrong with all the crazy stuff going on in this world. That'd be the craziest. This is my favorite. The NFC North, Detroit 10-7, Green Bay 9-8, Minnesota 8-9, Chicago Bears 7-10. I'm gonna just pause there. That's incredible. Justin Fields last year had a hard time hitting the backside of a barn. Now he got this precision Aaron Rodgers clone, and we don't improve a game. That's incredible.
Yeah, that one surprised me. That one and the Texans.
And then NFC East, this division, they got the Commanders at 6-11, Giants at 8-9, Cowboys at 11-6, and Philadelphia at 13-4. Come on now. Some of these things, this is ChatGPT?
That's what they put in there, yeah.
Now, I got to switch over to Copilot or somebody else because this thing adding up.
Yeah, I should have probably compared another one with that way. So so let's just work our way down from the respective AFC and NFC East with that way, and just work our way down. The Bills, I agree with that. There's not a better team in that AFC that's going to do better than them. The Bills.
I disagree.
Who do you think could be better than 12-5?
I think, maybe not 12-5.
Better team. I shouldn't say.
I would probably pick Miami to win that division.
Miami's gonna be tough with having Tariq Hill, those guys back again.
Yeah, their offense is the most consistent. To me, the
100%.
crazy one in this one is the Jets. I understand that Aaron Rodgers 5 years ago was incredible.
Oh yeah, Aaron Rodgers 5 years ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since he's done anything.
Yeah, I really don't understand. He and Kirk Cousins both. At least with Cousins, with Rodgers, he's had more time to recover from the injury. But They held him out of practice last week because it rained.
Oh yeah, worried about
So
him
I'm
slipping.
like, wait
yeah.
a second, he plays in New York. I mean, once you get to late November and into December, there's snow, there's wind, and I just wonder what the condition. And then that first part of their schedule, Monday night, that first week, they go to San Francisco.
Yeah, they got some tough games.
And I'm like, hey, I like Garrett Wilson as much as everybody else, and I like Bryce Hall in that backfield, and I love their young defense. But for them to jump Miami, and I just also think Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, those might be two of the more respected receivers in football. The fact that people are like Keon Coleman and a whole bunch of other guys who play the same slot position is going to replace that, because when Stephon Diggs was involved in an offense, he was very, very good. So all of a sudden it's like, man, we don't miss Stephon anymore. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, the other thing that was that surprising to me was them crediting Jared Mayo, rookie coach, at 8-9. I mean, he threw more wins than like those guys at Arizona, and threw more wins than, D'Amico Ryan, the coach who was like the coach of the year last year, I think, with the Texans. He's going to do better. Jared Mayo, I don't know, man. I don't see it that way.
8-9 that's the same Aiden. Like when I see that, then I look over and they give that same respect to 10-7 Mike McDonald with the Seahawks. And I'm like, man, I guess Pete Carroll was holding the Seahawks back.
I don't know about
They
that.
also lost their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, man, I guess they were really thinking, man, those guys are holding them back. And I like Geno as much as the next guy.
Yeah, but I don't think it's
10-7.
that. And then their counterpart in the NFC East, I mean, Philadelphia is going to be Philadelphia again, 13-4. Dallas, I don't 11-6. I just don't see it. I mean, I don't know if they're going to do any well. The Giants, that one's a little bit concerning, 8-9.
No way the Giants get to 8-9. Now they're chancing the world. I actually take Dallas to win that division again, because you know what? I think Mike McCarthy gets a bad rap, and I think they will miss Dan Quinn and their defense.
Easily.
But when you look at they're top heavy.
Yeah.
But I think Micah and Dak and CD, and I don't think Zeke will be Zeke of 5 years ago, but
No.
I think they'll be good. And I think the Eagles, Kellen Moore as their OC, I'm like, didn't Kellen Moore have a job last year and the year before that?
He did.
He just lose
Yeah, they didn't.
back-to-back jobs?
Yeah.
He got let go by the Cowboys, then got let go by the Chargers, and now he goes to Philadelphia, and all of a sudden he's great. And then don't forget their defensive coordinator left Miami because he couldn't connect with Jalen Ramsey and those guys.
Yep.
So now you're sending him to Philly, where their secondary was terrible last year. And I like Vic. But I'm just saying, like, you went out and got two veteran coordinators who got let go from jobs the year before.
100% agreed.
So I'm like, man, at 13-4, I think Philly's going to struggle. I like the Saquon pickup. I think they're going to miss Jason Kelsey.
Oh, easily be him. It would be different if he was just a guard or left tackle or something like that. But being the quarterback of that line and calling up protections, they're going to miss him a lot. Yeah,
so that's 13-4. To me, I'm like,
that seems a bit optimistic.
Yeah, Dallas still has most of the same guys on their offensive line.
I mean, yeah. The only hiccup with that would be is Zeke 5 years ago, he hit that A&M, and are they going to get CeeDee Lamb back? Are they going to be able to break that?
CeeDee Lamb back. They're going to pay the money. They'll probably sign him something like 5 years, 160, make him the richest receiver in football. And the reality of it is, Dak was second last year in the MVP voting. So when people think of the Cowboys, I think they're thinking like, oh, man, they're going to have this major regression. But I'm like...
Yeah, but if they make him the most paid wide receiver, that'll be more than DJ Moore, right? Or is the DJ
highest.
Moore history just the highest in the Bears history?
Yeah, DJ Moore's the highest in the Bears. Currently, it's Justin Jefferson's the highest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, like 35 or something?
Yeah. I mean, his number is ridiculous. But, I mean, he's earned it. But in that same breath, when you look at CD, I think he had 135 some odd targets last year.
He had a lot. Yeah.
So I'm like, when I look at that Cowboy team, I think that's a team who benefits from playing against the Giants and the Commanders twice a year.
That is definitely makes the 4 wins for those guys. It makes it hard to pick them to be a good overall in the NFC because they play the Commanders and the Giants twice.
And I just think the Cowboys 11-6 and the Eagles at 13-4. That's such a gap between those two. Cowboys won that division last year. Eagles finished the year. Remember, they're 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up being a wild card, and then losing to the Buccaneers, who
Yep.
when I saw the Buccaneers 6-11, I'm like, man,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like Dave Canales. I thought that hire was good for the Panthers, but that might be insane.
Yeah, and running out that division, NFC East, 6-11, Washington. Yeah, Washington is just a different breed. I think it's going to take Josh Harris and the ownership more time to get a better base on there with what they need. We'll skip the NFC North because I know that's that's your league. So we'll go down to the AFC South and NFC South. The AFC Jacksonville 10-7, winning that division. 8-9 Tennessee, 7-10 the Colts, 5-12 Texans. That surprises me for as great as the Texans were. ChatGPT must think that the sophomore slump is for real and CJ Stroud just going to flounder around, but I don't see that, man.
I flipped that whole thing. And you know what? I actually put Jacksonville in third and Tennessee in fourth. Tennessee had Vrabel
and he's
in
left.
that defense for years. Are we sure Will Levis is good, or did he just have Hopkins and throwing deep balls?
I think
to
he
him?
just had Hopkins.
And Derrick Henry to play action on.
Yeah,
And
Derrick
Derrick
Henry's
is
not
not
there.
there anymore.
Yeah, so that is a bit surprising that losing as much as Tennessee is to be 8-9 and second in that division is a bit of a head scratcher and stuff with that way. And like NFC South, that's always been the worst division as many years. They got Carolina at 9-8 winning that division, which I don't know about that. I don't see them winning 9 games. 8-9 second place for the Saints. 7-10 Atlanta. 6-11 the Bucks. I can see it that way with another year with Baker Mayfield, but they weren't too bad off last year. I
Won
think
the
they
division.
were. They were 10-6 or 10-7
That's another
or
one
something.
where I would flip it. I think it's going to be between Tampa and Atlanta because Atlanta got Kirk Cousins. And you talk about somebody who can precisely deliver a ball, and those weapons they have there, Bijan Robinson, Drake London.
Yeah, and maybe the coach there can better use Johnson opposed to last year when I can't remember what his name is. He was so awful.
Arthur Smith.
Yeah, he was no good running. He didn't know what to do with the offense and stuff, but he was a defensive guy. But
No, that's offense. Arthur Smith is a great
Was he
offensive guy. And you know what? His running backs produced, but the problem was Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they got those receiving weapons that they neglected.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so that to me is a toss up. I don't that one with 9-8, 3 wins between the top and the bottom. That's a toss and pick 'em there with that one. But I think Jacksonville coming to their own now that Trevor Lawrence has got his money. He might be a good one that way. But yeah, that Texans one is of a shock. I don't see them being the bottom of the league in that one with that way. AFC West, Kansas City's going to be Kansas City. I mean, they're 13-4. That makes sense. Chargers are a bit surprised at 11-6. Maybe credited in more.
There's no way in the world the Chargers are going to be 11-6. Quote me. No way. I think the Chargers are.
No way. Okay.
I like Jim
down here.
Harbaugh as much as the next guy, but I think they're going to be a run-heavy team, and I just think the NFL is now a wide-open, spread-the-ball league. And name a receiver on that team.
I legit can't because I know Keenan
Quentin
Allen.
Johnson is the guy from Kansas State a couple of years ago, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know who their number 2 is after Keenan Allen.
They drafted the kid from Georgia, Conkey.
Oh, yeah.
I like him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I like Herbert, but Herbert couldn't win with Keenan Allen and Eckler and talent. So that defense is
that's
older.
true.
I like Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack is there.
And what's the Bosa? I think they're good. Quentin Jammer and those guys are still there, but they're old.
Yeah, but also too, I mean, Kansas City's going to be tough. I mean, you play them twice, and it's just going to be a tough, division there with that one. But
if you're going to say a surprise out of there, I would probably say the team that I would take as the surprise out of there, maybe the Broncos.
yeah, the Broncos should be on on the way up with having with who they got in there, and they should be better.
They got 3 or 4 good running backs. Sean Payton knows what he's doing a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe getting rid of Russell Wilson with that dead weight will be better with that way. But
They still paying that contract though.
yeah. Vegas is the one that's a bit of a wild card. They turned on, and now that Antonio Pierce is the permanent coach there, will that?
The Raiders are the first team in history to take tight ends in like the first 2 rounds in history. So they got Michael Mayer. People want to call him Michael Meyer, like Halloween. And then they turned around and got the kid from Georgia, Brock Bauer, who I love.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, I think they're going to try to do what 49ers do with Kittle and, man, why I always want to say Colin, whatever the fullback's name is in the 49ers.
Oh, Juszczyk.
Juszczyk, there it
Juszczyk,
is.
yeah.
So I think they want to do some of that. But the problem is you got Devontae Adams, but then their quarterbacks. I like Gardner Minshew.
I'd heard an odd rumor that I guess Tom Brady does a vlog, and he made the comment that he's still in, quote, training shape, and there's some speculation he might come out of retirement and play for the Vegas Raiders.
I hear that the NFL, because he's trying to become a part owner.
He is a part owner. Yeah.
So I think that within that contract, they said if he came back, he couldn't be for the Raiders.
No, he'd have to sell his portion of the team or something that way. But I don't know about that, man. But yeah, and then on the NFC West side, 12-5 49ers. Yeah, that makes sense. 10-7 Seattle. Seattle will be different now with having another year with Geno there and all the things they got there. 7-10 Rams. I don't know, man. With Stafford, is fairly good every year. Sean McVay is really good, and I just saw with Stetson Bennett, the quarterback there. He just came back and he looked good so far in preseason. The 2 games I've seen him play, and 5-12. Kyler Murray in Arizona. I don't know, man. I think Arizona will get it figured out there. I see them winning more than 5 games, but I mean, again, that's a bit of a of a crapshoot in there with how many more would they go 10-7, but I don't think they'll be in the top of the division. If anything, second or third in that division.
I would actually go San Francisco winning. That Brandon Ayuk piece is huge.
Yeah, they got to get that settled. They got to get that taken care of before, because that will be a definitely albatross hanging around their neck if they don't get rid of that.
And Trent Williams starting to show up for camp. And that's probably a bigger deal. The best tackle in football, not there yet.
Him.
So if those things don't work out, I can see that being a 10-7 team and still winning that division. But I actually think that Sean McVay, Puka, Cooper Kupp, and then they got that the running back Williams, who came on real strong last year.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Then they lost Aaron Donald on the defensive side.
Yeah, retiring.
They lost their defensive coordinator, who's the head coach now in Atlanta. So you start saying, like, the combination of that, is this the year where they finally take a massive step back? Because they went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah, you're right about
that.
So
people keep thinking, didn't Seattle make it? No, that was the Rams.
Yeah. So that'd be an interesting one there. I mean, Arizona could figure it out there and move to the top if they may be a wild card team. And rounding out the 4 conferences, AFC North, 12-5 Cincinnati, 11-6 Baltimore, 9-8 Cleveland, 8-9 Pittsburgh. Like I said earlier when Coop was reading them, that'd be a bit of a stunner there, because in all the years Tomlin's been a coach, I think he might be the only NFL coach who's never had a losing season as a coach. I know at least his entire time in Pittsburgh, he's never had a losing.
That's his only job.
Yeah, so that'd be crazy to see him actually be below 500, which I don't think that's going to happen. That with Cleveland and them, they can get that figured out. And the NFC North, I'm going to let Coop go on this one. 10-7 Detroit. That's a bit optimistic. 9-8 Green Bay. Jordan Love is fantastic, but I don't see 9-8 wins coming out of that. 8-9 Minnesota. That makes sense. I could see them even going 7-10 because of losing Kirk Cousins and kind of everything with that way. But the standard to me, 7-10 Bears. I think they got more wins than 7 in them, Coop. I know that's your team. I mean, I don't want to put you on the on the hook and say they're going to go 11-6 or 12-5.
The AFC North and the NFC North are this year the best 2 divisions in football.
Oh, hands down, yeah.
And to me, I think Detroit might flirt with that 12-5, maybe even 11-6.
Really?
I think Detroit, that offensive line, and they got good weapons on the outside. Gibbs had the hamstring, so it depends on what happens with Gibbs. Minnesota is the team who they just lost J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah,
so now it's just Sam Darnold, no competition. I think they lost another person from their secondary. Minnesota's the team where I'm like, if Minnesota's 8-9, they've upset a whole bunch of teams. I have Minnesota, in my opinion, I think Minnesota, the Raiders, the Panthers, Commanders, New England Patriots. Those are your bottom 4.
Yeah, those are going to be like the 5-12, 6-11 teams. Yeah, maybe even 4-13 or something.
Well, I see the Patriots at 8-9. I'm like, which team in their division are they beating twice?
Yeah, there's no way they're going to beat those teams twice. Jets, Miami, Bills, no way.
I mean, the only team, again, I think that if you ask me what's the team on here out of all of them that's the most overrated, it's probably the Jets. Just because I do believe in the defense, because I think Robert Saleh is a good mind. But I think the confidence in Aaron Rodgers going back to being Superman, people got to remember that last year in Green Bay, they got beat in the first round. The year before that, they got beat in the first round. Aaron Rodgers hasn't been Aaron Rodgers in years, and now he's coming off of a significant injury.
100%.
And the fact that they held him out of practice because it rained makes me go.
Yeah, I just wonder how many of those 11-6 wins are going to be contributed to just Aaron Rodgers being there and having those late situations where he can tie to win the game or game manage it where they're already up by 2 or 3 points and he just don't intercept, don't turn over the ball and he's just going to run it off,
And last time I checked, their offensive coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
And people remember Nathaniel Hackett because he was the offensive coordinator in Green Bay. Didn't call plays, LaFleur did. So then he got the Denver job, game management, time management.
Yeah, he was
horrible.
It was awful.
So
yeah.
and then last year, Jets game, when it was big games, they had to make quick decisions. They like to blame Zach Wilson, but the game plan was off. All of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers is fixing Nate Hackett too.
Well, it's just one of those things of that. I think that was why the whole reason, speculatively, that why they hired Hackett to be the OC there was because he had a relationship already with Aaron Rodgers, so he was on the market. If he's here, maybe that'll lean having Rodgers come in and be the guy. So that makes sense with that way. But 11 wins because what they finish at 7-10 last year or something, or were they 500?
No, they might have been 8-9.
Okay, so I mean you're talking about 3 more wins. I don't know. I mean 3 more wins if you're Aaron Rodgers of like 7-8 years ago. Yeah, but now at 38 or 39.
I mean. The question becomes, they do have Breece Hall, and I do like Garrett Wilson. I think he's a really good young receiver. And I think they do have little pieces. And wait, all of this changes with the Raiders and the Jets if we get to week 3 and 4, and the Jets are 0-3 or 0-4, and then Devontae Adams gets traded to the Jets. Then I go, everything's off the table.
Yeah, man, but the Jets, I don't know if the Jets have got anything to give up for Devontae Adams. They'd have to give up a lot.
There's no salary cap or anything in football. So you know what they do? They give up picks. They say, we'll give up our next 2-1.
Man.
I mean, the problem becomes, though, if they go with the next 2-1s, how much longer does Aaron Rodgers play? And how much longer does that delay them being able to draft the heir apparent? Especially thinking that they drafted Zach Wilson to be that a couple years ago.
Yeah, now they traded him off.
And then they reset it with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because they traded Wilson. He's with
the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos now, so that way.
They don't even like he's gonna make the roster.
Yeah, that way. So that to me is one of those. Aaron Rodgers is good, but I don't see them picking up 3 wins because of him being all of a sudden the starter now. And you're right. What happens if they do go 0-3 and 0-4 and they make a change and they get Devontae Adams? I mean, then you're talking about them going 11-2 the final 13 games?
No, I said if the Raiders go 0-3.
Oh, yeah.
So say I mean, nobody knows what happens that first night because if Trent Williams doesn't play, then that New York Jets defensive line is going to get to Purdy.
Oh, yeah.
So then the Jets upset them and the Jets are feeling great. And then the Raiders go out and they get beat 27-17. Devontae's on the sideline. We all watch receiver. Devontae seems like he's a very competitive guy, but he was also pretty vocal about the fact that, man, we're not winning. I hate being here. So what happens week 1 or 2 when Devontae's making those statements, I don't want to be here? And then Woody Johnson calls with all that money and says, we'll send you some future picks.
I just don't see Devontae Adams reaching that level publicly because of Antonio Pierce. He's going to want to keep that in-house because him being a player's coach, him being a former player, I think that's something that the former coach who was there last year, I can't think of what his name is since they fired him, let go.
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, and he was awful. He was not a player's guy that way. So I don't see that airing out there. But if they do trade Devontae Adams, then there's definitely going to be some turmoil there that happened that they just didn't put out there publicly. But it makes sense, to trade him because you can get some picks knowing that the Raiders are building for a long term. I could see them doing it that way. But
yeah, I think the Raiders had that draft where they wanted Penix or they wanted Jaden Daniels, and they missed on both, so they took Bowers. And I think that some of those guys in that room were like, so Aiden O'Connell's our future, and I don't know. I like Gardner Minshew. I thought he's a tough guy.
Minshew magic, baby.
Yeah, I mean, he always seems to compete, but at the same time, if you're in that locker room and Max Crosby and those guys are ready to win, and don't forget, they paid a ton of money for Christian Wilkinson. So defensively, that defensive line is going to be terrifying.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're going to be – that's what's going to be good. And it goes back to the adage of offense wins games, defense wins championships. But the Raiders have got to be there consistently all year. And, ChatGPT having them at 7-10 is what prediction is for next year. 7-10 ain't going to cut it. They ain't going to get them in the playoffs. That's – I mean, even that's like the fourth overall team in the wild card. They wouldn't get in at 7-10.
I would actually take – after looking and reconsidering that and thinking about how dominant that defense might be, I would actually have the Raiders jump the Chargers. So I would go Kansas City and the Raiders because I still got that Christmas Day game taste in my mouth when the Raiders went to Kansas City and put it on the Chiefs. Remember that?
Yeah, but the rivalry games are always those ones that you can kind of sort of throw out the book. But you're right; they looked fantastic against somebody like Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean they did lose Josh Jacobs though. A very, very tier 2 running back. So I think that plays a role into it too. And I don't like Aiden O'Connell. I have no problem with you. I don't love Aiden O'Connell. So I think he's okay, and I think Gardner's okay. But then Max Crosby, double-digit sacks every year. Christian Wilkins, he'll eat up blocks.
Oh, yeah.
And they got some good young guys in the secondary. So I can see the Raiders with Antonio Pierce screaming, Raiders!
Yeah, I could see them doing better than 7-10 and what ChatGPT is.
Maybe they're the 11-6 team out of there.
I could see it that way because, Chargers have got a lot. I know with oh, man, what is his name? The coach. I can't.
Who?
Keke.
Jim Harbaugh.
Oh, my gosh. I can't remember his name.
That
was John. Oh, I was like, what is it? I can see his face. I couldn't think of his name. 11-6, being optimistic. And it's funny. He's a rookie coach. I understand he's played he's coached before when he was with 49ers. But why do they have him going 11-6, but someone like Jared Mayo only 8-9? Is it because he's never had coaching experience? Is that why they have him only win?
No, I think they're rosters. I think Jared Mayo and that they traded Matt Judon this week.
I did see that.
Can you name somebody on their defense?
I can't think of anybody on that defense except
they have that young corner who got hurt at the end of last year, who was really good before he got hurt.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Christian Barmore from Alabama. They just re-signed him. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that just stands out to me and stuff with that way.
They just cut Juju Smith-Schuster. Yeah, that's sad. I like Juju. I hope he finds a team in the league. All right, let's do it. Let's go the 7 playoff teams for the AFC. Who you got?
Based on this list and my
No, ignore ChatGPT. These picks are terrible.
Based on historical references and whatnot that way, I'll take division winners. I'll take the Bills in this one. I'm going to put a note of this so then we can keep track of it on ours. I think the Bills. I think Cincinnati is going to come over the hump of them being, injury plagued last year. I think they'll be better than the Ravens. I still think the Texans in the AFC South, just because you got to, like Rick Flair used to say, you got to beat the man to be the man, and I don't see anybody in that division being successful enough. Eventually Kansas City is going to fall off the map. I could see Kansas City being that division winner, but I could see them getting beat in the second round if they get the first or second pick in the AFC conference. So those are the four division winners: Bills, Cincinnati, Texans, Kansas City. The 3 wild card teams, I could see the Ravens making the wild card team. I could see wild card pick. I could see the Raiders being a wild card pick over Chargers in that one. And my third one, just because Anthony Richards I think will be good, third wild card team will be the Colts.
All right.
No Jets. I think they stay at home.
I'm going Chargers. I'm going Chiefs as the 1. I'm going to pick them to be the 1 overall.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a team motivated to win, to three-peat. And I think that with that speed that they added with Worthy and Marquise Brown, I think Kelsey's going to get space. I think high knees, Pacheco, it's going to be better. I think Mahomes is going to be good. And for the first time in a while, their D-line, what's the big guy's name? Jones? Mm-hmm. I think he's happy because he got that contract early done. I think he's going to be dominant from the start. AFC South, I'm going with you with the Texans. the AFC North, I'm going with Baltimore. I love Joe Burrow, and I think he's fantastic, but Joe Mixon gone and Jamar Chase unhappy. I just don't see that working. And then in the AFC, I think the Bills have won that division 5 years going.
They have.
I'm going with the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
I think Tua and Mike McDonald and those guys are going to figure it out.
Okay.
And then my wild cards, I'm going to go with Cincy, Pittsburgh,
2 in the same one. All right.
and I'm going to go with the Bills. That Jets one, the Devontae Adams thing is huge to me. If the Jets end up with Devontae Adams, I think they're the wild card.
100%. You want to do your NFC and I'll go second? Or you
All
want
right,
me to go
NFC.
first? Okay.
I got Dallas winning the East.
AFC East.
I got
All right, Coop.
I got the Bucks winning the South. I don't believe in Baker, but you know.
They've been the most consistent team out of those 4 in the NFC South. So
Yeah, I mean, they got good running back, good secondary. Mike Evans, he's going to get you 1,000 yards.
Yeah, easily.
I got the 49ers winning the West. I got Detroit winning the North. My wild cards are Philly, Chicago, and I got 6. I got to pick a 7th. I don't want to pick the 7th. I got Green Bay.
Wow, Green Bay. Okay.
3 out of the NFC North and 3 out of the AFC. So I
Well,
told
you did earlier when we were
AFC
going
North.
breaking
I
them
told
down. You
both
said
of
both of those.
divisions. I like both of those divisions.
Those teams are going to be the best there that way. All right, I'll go for the 4 division winners. I mean, 49ers again, and they've been consistent. Just because I don't like Dallas, I'm gonna go Philly in that division. I got to stop going with my heart, that way because I can't pick Dallas for nothing. I think I'll go Detroit in that one. Detroit's got some unfinished business. They looked good last year. Only thing that's going to hurt them is if they get overconfident. One of the things that they're going to go in expecting to beat teams and they just get blown out or they just don't give them the performance or the appearance that they need to. Oh, the NFC South. I just don't see Carolina doing it with Dave Canales, a rookie coach. The Saints, I can't pick the Saints. Falcons. I'll go the Bucks in that one, just because that's the one team I hate the least in the NFC South. If it ain't the Panthers, I'll go the Bucks. The wild card teams.
Wait, you did the 49ers in the West?
Yeah, 49ers.
You're like, you didn't even got to say that one.
That's a given. The wild card teams. I think the Rams. I think Dallas. As much as I hate that, I like to see them lose because that history that. The Lions have got more playoff game wins in this century than Dallas does. And my third wild card team, just because I like to see them, I'm going to go with you, Coop. I think the Bears have got it figured out there because that defense is going to be, they're going to be back to the monsters of Midway. They got some fantastic defenders there, and they got some really good guys. I got a shout out to Hard Knocks. Been watching that first 2 weeks, and that team looks fantastic. They get some pieces in place. I think it won't hinge on Caleb Williams doing well because Justin Fields was able to do well with them, and they won games with those guys. Caleb Williams is just a little bit more of a better talent. It's crazy how much in the first week of him watching, didn't play in the Hall of Fame game, and how much he saw that way, and how much more differently he picked up on defenses and what they were running against him. Yeah. And that second week was, bar none, better. So I could see them being the third wild card team with that way. But yeah,
I'm telling you this right now. If Detroit ends up being the 2 seed and Chicago ends up being the 7 seed, I'd be willing. We have 7 out of 8 quarters last year. We dominated them. They beat us in the fourth quarter of the second game. They came back and won that miracle game. But if Detroit and Chicago are 2-7, Matt Eberflus. I think Goff last year had more turnovers against the Bears than everybody else combined. I really like the Bears versus Detroit. I think that Detroit don't want to be the 2.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. They don't want to be that because they don't want to see them again because you're right, especially when you're in the same division with them. you always kind of sort of go in there and figure out how to beat them because you understand you play them so much and stuff with that way.
Detroit is the team this year that doesn't go outside. I think they have maybe 1 or 2 outside games all year. So Green Bay and Chicago might be their only 2 outside games. That makes me want to hedge Detroit just because of the advantage of being able to play in a climate-controlled environment like that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I could see it that way.
Wait, we're going to do conference champions and Super Bowl?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead. What do you think?
Did ChatGPT not give us the...
It did not. Yeah, this was just based on what they thought their overall records were, and obviously, the playoffs are going to be something different. I mean, last week we didn't say what our Super Bowl picks were going to be. I want to make sure you had.
No, wait. No, let's just erase that.
No, you did. No. Your 2 teams that you picked. You picked your teams, both of them, to be in there.
All right, so I'm going to go to AFC Championship game. I'm going to shock everybody. I am going to take the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
I think that Miami offense, another year, Mike McDonald's being creative. I think they're going to find ways to get Hill and Waddle with the ball. And I also think Odell Beckham in the slot is going to make that offense even more interesting. And then at the NFC, I'm going to stick with it. I think the Chicago Bears are going to go to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles and go to the Super Bowl. So I got the Ravens beating the Dolphins and the Bears beating the Eagles.
That makes sense because last week when we recorded, you had Bears, Ravens in the Super Bowl, and you had Bears winning 35-31.
I think the Bears, Ravens in the Super Bowl, Bears win. And I know there's some concern in Baltimore with Mike McDonald being the Seahawks head coach, but I think he was only their defensive coordinator for 2 years. I think Jim Harbaugh and those guys have a system that has worked. So that I think the Baltimore defense will be fine. Who you got?
I think me in the AFC, I think it's going to go Kansas City. The Bills hosting Kansas City up there in Hyde Park, and I see the Bills overcoming. They're getting over that Mahomes hump, and the Bills winning that AFC title game in that one. The NFC one, I'll go with you. I could see the Bears run it that way because of what it is. Bears, 49ers, and I could see the 49ers winning that one.
So we get a back-to-back Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. What that would be?
No. I think it'll be Bills, 49ers.
Oh, you got the Bills beating the Chiefs.
Yeah. I think the Bills finally getting over the hump because, I mean, eventually they've had close games. Every time Buffalo has won, they've gotten, every time they've played, they've gotten that much closer. They can beat them in the regular season, but just can't get over the playoff hump. And they hosted them last year. They should have put them away and won the game last year, but they just couldn't do it. So that's why I think the Bills can finally beat Kansas City, and then. And
you got the Bills being the 1 or the Bengals being the 1?
Oh no, the Bills have got to be the 1 if they're hosting.
Oh wow! I mean that's good. That's good playoffs. And then your Super Bowl champ is.
I think I had last week 49ers. Yeah, 49ers. I had them 28-24.
So that means you think Trent Williams is coming into camp, and you think they're going to re-sign Brandon Ayuk.
To me, the Ayuk is not as big of a story as if it was like Debo getting hurt. If it was Debo the one that was upset and was throwing the fit and not showing up, that to me in my mind is a bigger wide receiver offensive weapon, Debo, than Ayuk and stuff with that way. So I mean, if you had to start a team right now, and somebody said between Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuels, who'd you take?
Ayuk.
I'd take Debo.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the argument both ways, but I think the Ayuk route running and deep threat, man, and this is why they said this week the 49ers and the Steelers have a deal in place, but the 49ers don't want to go through it because they want to keep Ayuk so badly. Because if you go back and watch the highlights, when Debo was hurt, they lost 3 in a row. So I get that argument, but I think with Christian McCaffrey and Debo both being those like utility backs where they both can do a little bit of everything, I think if you lose Debo, you can use McCaffrey in different ways where you can cover
Oh
him.
yeah, you can put him in a
But
slot.
a
Or,
legitimate, like, Brandon Ayuk's numbers are ridiculous. I'm like, that hurts. But to me, Ayuk, I think, is more replaceable. But if Trent Williams holds out into the season, that's an issue because
Yeah.
Trent Williams.
yeah, that definitely is a greater of a concern. But because somebody like the Devontae Adams, if he's unhappy with the Raiders situation in first 3 weeks they're 0-3 or 0-4, then why could the 49ers not go make a play and pick him up?
Wait, so you would trade Ayuk for Adams?
Oh yeah.
If we were 5 years ago, and Ayuk wasn't even in football 5 years ago, I would love that Devontae Adams. But right now, I love Devontae. But I think the reason why there are so many teams interested in Ayuk is because that man is very good.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's good, but when you put him in a situation where right now they're embarrassment of riches with what the 49ers have got with
Yes.
Kittles, Ayuk, Debo Samuels, Kittle, and Brock Purdy. With his feet running the ball, he's not Michael Vick or Jalen Hurts or
But he's
whatever that
efficient.
way. But he's efficient. He can get down the field if need be. If you take Ayuk off that team and you put him somewhere else that they need a number one, but then all of a sudden he's like, perfect example, Christian McCaffrey, when he was on the Panthers, he was the main offensive
Yes.
guy. Even when Cam Newton was there, he was still the main guy. They were getting
Yeah.
the ball to him. That's why he got hurt so much. Once they took him to 49ers, his production value went up because he wasn't the guy anymore because they had Kittle, they had Ayuk, they had Debo Samuels and whatnot. Way. So if you put Ayuk on a team that needs a one, say the Jets or
The Steelers.
Steelers or somebody else that way, they're going to beat him up. He's
Him
going to
and
be out
George
there all
Pickens.
the time.
No, him and George Pickens with Najee and Warren in the backfield, Freiermuth. And in my opinion, I love Justin. I'm always going to love Justin
yeah.
Fields.
Obviously being a
But I
Chicago
think
guy.
Russell Wilson in that offense, if the Steelers get Ayuk, and I know people love Joe Burrow, but I think Chase and Higgins, if you're Higgins and they didn't pay you, and they draw up a slant or a post and you're going across the middle, are you running that route hard? Nah, man.
So-
you know what Jamar Chase is getting paid this year?
Oh, he's probably selling the salary rookie cap, probably.
$1 million.
So why would they? So why would you not want to go if you were straight up? Cincinnati needed a better one than Jamar Chase. Why not a swap for Ayuk and Chase?
Because they both want to get paid. That's why Ayuk and Chase are both out right now. They both want to get paid. So Cincinnati's not trading Chase for Ayuk because Chase is
Well, plus they already have a chemistry built with him and
Joe
him and
Burrow.
Burrow
they're
since they
boys.
played. Yeah,
But
at
the
LSU
problem
together.
is, Burrow said it again last week. Burrow's not pressuring him because Burrow thinks he should get paid too.
Okay, but in all fairness, Joe Burrow's got his money. He's already got his bags.
Yeah.
He's not going to be out there campaigning for somebody else because he's already got his money.
Yeah, the NFL veterans did this to the rookies because as much as you like football, Sam Bradford got that rookie deal
That's
20
it.
years ago, and they redid that deal. And I said the other day, Caleb Williams' entire contract is less than 1 year of Daniel Jones. And there's something almost criminal about that. And I think that down long term, you're going to see a lot of guys stay in college for 5 years because I can go to the NFL. And I think Caleb Williams, I think his overall deal is like 30 or something.
Oh, yeah, he got 25 and a half signing bonus.
Yeah, I think the fifth year they technically signed it, but that'll be the extension year. But he probably made $10 million last year at USC. So what's the carrot to get you to come out knowing that you're going to have to go and play for 4 years?
Oh, yeah, you're not. Yeah, the pressure to come out and be the number one pick in the NFL is not what it used to be. Just the historical reference.
Yeah.
To say, hey, I was number one. Because you stop and think, there are a lot of guys who were bust at number one. Like Jamarcus Russell was the number one when he came
Yeah.
out of LSU. And he only played 2
3
seasons. 3. And went that way. And he's no longer in the league. Sam Bradford was again number one. And he only played like 4 years till he got out and stuff that way. So that's not the big thing anymore that used to be and stuff. And you're right, the NIL has just changed the landscape completely of amateur and pro athletes because you don't need the money. You can
Not at
stay in the college and get $4 or $5 million in NIL money if you're a big name and not do it that way. Just for example, like in Colorado, I saw where the practice uniforms, they're not putting their last names on the back. They're putting the social media handles on their back
Yeah.
of their jerseys so they get the publicity out there. I'm just like, well, that's weird.
That's the era we live in now. And it's like, say you're Jaden Daniels, you won the Heisman last year at LSU. Nobody's talking about the struggle he had at Arizona State before he transferred to LSU. But in the NFL, if Jaden Daniels goes out and throws 16 interceptions, 19 interceptions his first year, he might be a bust. But who's the rookie who owns the record for most interceptions in that
I was
first
about to say,
year?
don't do that because Peyton Manning, for as great as
He
the Hall of
owns the
Fame is,
record.
yeah, 26 or 28 or some crazy number that he had.
In this era, would he have been benched? Because that's what we've gone to today is saying if you're not great immediately. So Caleb Williams went 4 of 7. Somebody's like, well, he missed 3. I'm like, look at the replays. The 7th pass was a throwaway. The 2 previous passes were drops. DJ Moore dropped one and Cole Kmet dropped one. But people see 4 for 7 and go, well, he's not that efficient.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the one of them he threw over.
Odunze out of the end zone.
Yeah, because they had tight coverage on that one. Just saw that one.
Yeah, I mean, big time, because now we have an emphasis on turnovers.
Yeah.
So quarterbacks now are watching those stats. I mean, I don't know if you ever watch games on Amazon Prime, but some of their feeds now.
Yeah, they have some great
They
stats
have
on
those
there. Yeah.
statistics running the whole game, and it's like the pressure. Or, I mean, you stay at Oklahoma State for another year, go to class virtually.
Oh yeah,
Have great
you're
trainers,
not, yeah,
great
you're not.
food. You're a local hero.
Yeah. There's no longer a thing of making a big push to get out there and make money in the professional leagues because you can do better in NIL, and that's where you're going to be and stuff for that way. So that's why you get a lot of players who are going to be on there longer and stuff than they were before and stuff. Would be no big deal and stuff with that way. But yeah. So I'd be curious to know. We wrote them all down. I'd be curious to know.
I did my heart pick. Let me do the head pick now.
Okay, go ahead.
So my head pick would be
This
the Super Bowl.
is the truly wild card. If Coop was the league and the genie in the bottle, go ahead. What would your pick be?
I picked Baltimore versus Kansas City, with Kansas City beating Baltimore. And then in the NFC, I probably see, I don't believe in Detroit. I think Dan Campbell gambles too much. So I can see a repeat of Philly and the 49ers with Philly beating them again. So then I end up with a repeat of a Super Bowl 2 years ago, Kansas City and Philadelphia. And I see Kansas City beating the Eagles.
Philadelphia and who in the NFC was your wild? The Bears?
49ers.
49ers.
And that's, again, I think the Eagles are going to struggle early. But I do think that with A.J. Brown and Devontae Adams and Jalen and those guys, they got a young secondary. But I think by the time they get to November, they'll be figuring it out by then. So, I mean, I still believe in that Georgia defense. I know everybody's like, Georgia, half of their defense is drafted from Georgia. So those guys know how to win. And I see Kansas City's 3-peat.
So in your fantasy, your crazy wild card, Kansas City 49ers with Kansas City winning for the third in a row.
Well, my crazy one is probably the Bears winning. My more realistic one is Kansas City winning the 3-peat.
Well, wasn't that your heart one with Buffalo, Kansas, or Baltimore, Kansas City in the AFC?
No, my heart is Chicago winning the Super Bowl. My brain is Kansas City winning the Super Bowl.
So, but you gave me two. So you gave me Ravens and Miami.
That's the AFC Championship.
So what was the one you just gave me now? Buffalo and Kansas City.
Kansas City.
And
No, not Buffalo. Baltimore.
Baltimore, and that one was
Kansas City.
And that one was going with your heart.
No, that's going with my head. Kansas City's my head pick. Chicago is my heart pick. So in my heart pick, Baltimore gets to the Super Bowl. It's Baltimore and Chicago. My head pick is Kansas City and the Eagles.
Okay. Now hold on now, Coop. You didn't confuse me because you gave me the Bears. You gave me Bears Philly earlier.
No, not Bears. In the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's what you gave me.
Yeah. So the Bears beat them in that, and that's my heart.
Oh, so the first one is what your heart's telling you.
Yeah.
The last
my head
one
is telling me
okay.
It's the Eagles and the Chiefs. But even in the head pick, I got the Bears in the playoffs. Which the Bears make the playoffs. I'm going up.
Okay. So your heart in the AFC, Ravens, Miami.
Yes.
And your heart in the NFC is Bears, Philly.
Yeah.
And then you had Bears, Ravens in the Super Bowl is what you had, and that was is that your heart pick?
That's my heart pick.
Okay. And then the for real one, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Philly 49ers.
Yeah.
With a repeat of Kansas City 49ers and Kansas City winning.
Kansas City Eagles.
Kansas City Eagles, excuse me. Okay.
Yeah. Kansas City wins.
The Philly?
Yeah, we get a 3-peat.
Okay.
Could you imagine the three-peat? That means Pat Mahomes and Steph Curry.
No,
both
they won't.
are
He
just
won't. He won't.
legends.
He won't do a three. They won't do a three-peat. Someone's going to get it figured out. They're going to figure out them, and they're going to get them to a better spot. I don't see that happening.
Isn't that crazy? Because like the way people talk about Kyle Shanahan is the way they should talk about Andy Reid, who for decades now has offensively dominated the league.
Well, it's interesting how they don't knock Shanahan as much as they did Reid, because Reid was always a guy who he could win the games but never win the big game.
Yeah.
And same thing, Shanahan, he's been to I think he's been Super Bowl
3 times now.
3 times, and he's never won, because I know,
Wait, maybe it's 2.
well, he was the offensive coordinator with
the Falcons.
with the
28-3
28-3 game.
That's always going to be with
He
him.
was a coach last year with 49ers,
And
and
then
he was
2 years ago with Flacco. Not Flacco. Jimmy G.
Oh, yeah, and the 49ers as well, too. Yeah.
So-
So, I mean, he's been there two times as a head coach and 3 times as a head coach coordinator.
Yeah.
And he's never won that way. But Andy Reid, that was always a knock on him. He could get there and never could win. So it's
Yeah,
like,
but
why
to
is
me,
that?
I'm like Andy Reid's longevity and dominance. Because even when they lost, and I'm a Chicago guy, so it's Donovan McNabb. But they lost those games because of McNabb choking in big moments. I mean, they don't believe me, go listen to the T.O. interviews. So to me, Andy Reid was right there and close. But now he's won 3. And that offense last year, they legitimately, Rashay Rice came on at the end, but they really didn't have a consistent deep threat. So the safeties were dropping to take away Kelsey. You can't do that anymore.
No, you definitely cannot do that. Yeah.
So to me, I'm looking at that Kansas City offense. I'm like, is Mahomes in his prime?
No, I don't see them three-peating, because, I mean, easily, I think somebody else could. I think Josh Allen got it figured out. Joe Burrows, for as good as he is, he's not going to be, hurt. He'll be able to do what he's got to do. He'll be fine.
Last year, Kansas City played Miami in the coldest playoff game in history.
Yes, I remember
And then
watching
they
that
got
game.
on a plane, went to Buffalo, got on a plane, went to Baltimore. Last year was the year they were supposed to lose. That's the beatable year. What
Yeah.
happens this year when they get home field?
But also
throughout?
too, but last year though, with them being the underdog, you never count them out. They're always going to be able to win.
But I'm saying last year was the hard one.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
This year, man, this is a team traditionally that wins their division going away. Last year they
But
struggled.
also too, stop and think. Until last year, Joe Burrow had always beaten Kansas City.
Well,
and
Joe
last
Burrow
year-
beat them once.
Well, no, because they had like 3 in a row where they beat. Remember, because that whole big joke about
regular season, I'm saying
regular
playoffs.
season. Oh yeah. But he was not injured last year. He was hurt. Towards the end of the season, because remember he had just come back from his
The wrist, yeah.
So it's like
I
he
mean,
wasn't.
Burrow's played 3 years in the league. And
Yeah,
he had
I mean,
one
I'm
healthy
not-
year, and he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm not using that as an excuse, but it's when you're 100%, you go back to the example of, 49ers Eagles game a couple years ago when they just got tore up and the Eagles just waylaid them, and they were like, Debo's was like, well, if we had a quarterback,
And then they
and
smacked
the Eagles
them
were like,
last
yeah,
year.
right, whatever with that way. You're just a bad team. They come back and almost the exact same teams, 49ers and Eagles, and it wasn't even
That's
close.
not true. The Eagles had reduced their secondary to save money. Now they brought somebody back, so the Eagles secondary is much better this year.
100% and 75% Eagles team. But for pretty much they were almost the same
Yes.
team. They not exact, but very close. And 49ers took them to the woodshed with a healthy quarterback. So that's why I don't think Kansas City will three-peat.
I think, what's his name, Tosh Boyd, something like that, and Joe Mixon, and somebody off that offensive line from the Bengals are gone now. So when I look at that Bengals team, and Bates, 2 years ago when Kansas City, Bates, who's now with Atlanta, was in there. So when I look at that Bengals team, I think the AFC North is interesting because I think the Browns could win that division. Last year, a very good team with Joe Flacco, and the question is, nobody wants to root for Deshaun Watson.
Nope.
But Amari Cooper in their defense, and they didn't have Nick Chubb for half of the year last year.
That's true. They got, again, you're making my case better with there are guys who they didn't have who weren't consistent that I think can give Kansas City a better run this year.
Well, I think for me, the biggest advantage for Kansas City is they play in such a weak division that they get a
100%.
chance to beat up on their division.
And
So then they
deserve-
end up
yeah.
with the 1 seed. So then everybody's going to Arrowhead versus them last year going to Baltimore and Buffalo, which historically are tougher places to win, especially Buffalo. But they did that already. So to me, I'm like, I think Kelsey has a better year just because you can't double him with those deep threats now. And Pacheco being another year into the offense. Like, I don't know if we're going to see Edwards Solaire anymore.
Yeah.
He kind of sprinkled in, but at this point, that's the other guy's job. And I think Mahomes another year in his system.
Yeah.
I mean, the only team I think can beat Kansas City is Lamar them. Because I think Lamar with Derrick Henry, that read option is real scary.
They'll be a better team now with having Henry there than those guys and whatnot.
They can find a way to keep him healthy and keep that offensive line up. I like Baltimore.
Okay. Well, we'll have to revisit this at the end of the season and whatnot that way. Shout out to our listener in Norway. I was telling Cooper when we started earlier that we're now going international. We got a listener in Norway. So shout out to whomever you are. Thanks for the listen. Hit us up.
Finn or Sven or whatever, my Norwegian friend. What's happening, player? Hope you enjoyed it.
Feel free to send us a line at dosechapod@gmail.com. Pick apart our picks and whatnot. Maybe if you've got a better team or a better outcome than what we have here. Since we like to use lyrics, I was thinking of a song as we were sitting there talking, and you iterated a perfect one here. I like the song Till, what is it called? Till I Collapse. There are 2 lines in that song that are fantastic. Till my legs give out, you can't shut my mouth. Guys going to be talking. I'm going to rip this till my bones collapse. So with you always is Efren.
And Ellison.
See you next time, guys.
Deuce.